Hi folks, this is Jack with Shar Music. Today on the workshop, we are going to take a look at Pirastro's new Perpetual Cadenza violin strings. So Pirastro's new Perpetual Cadenza violin strings, the main selling points are, hey, they should sound quite a lot like the vanilla Perpetual strings, and these are great soloistic, premium violin strings. They have tremendous amount of sound, they have a tremendous amount of color, and hopefully that will be reflected here in the cadenzas. The cadenzas are a bit lower tension though. This means that they should be easier to play under the left hand, but that also usually indicates that we don't quite get as full of a sound. A higher tension string, a higher gauge string, is going to have, usually, a much fuller, richer sound than a lighter gauge. So I'm very curious to see how the cadenzas match up with the vanilla Perpetuals. Without further ado, let's grab V and head into the shop and see how Perpetual cadenzas match up to the vanillas.
By the way, bold of you to assume I know any etudes. Ta-da! All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play a little something here.
I get a lot of dynamic range in those. Like I hear a lot, like a nice loud, a nice soft piano there. Let's take another listen to the Perpetual vanilla.
All right, and I'm going to check the tuning on these as well.
Oh, here. This will make things more comfortable.
Ah, that does help. Thank you.
Really good. So, I mean, to my ear, the Perpetual vanillas have a fuller sound. But what are your thoughts? How do they hear under your ear, and how do they feel under your fingers?
Well, I would definitely agree. I think these have a much more full sound. I liked the softness of the Perpetual cadenzas. Like, I felt like I could get some really nice pianos, but the trade-off is I felt like the sound, the overall tone was a little bit fuzzier on the cadenzas. This seemed to have a much clearer tone. Definitely
a bit more of a focus, more of a direct tone on that one. But I'm glad to hear that the feel is softer on these strings, the cadenzas.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it's not much of a difference.
Okay.
And really, like, if I were choosing between these two strings, that wouldn't be something I'd make my decision based on.
Okay.
I would like
It's not so low tension to where you're like, oh, these are great. Like I gotta have these.
Right, right. It's not a huge difference to me, so I don't think that in itself would be what I'd base my decision on.
Okay, but these would be pretty good for, I mean, anybody looking for a lower tension string. Particularly, I think soloists would really like this. And if you have a violin that's got a bit more of a maybe a naturally focused sound to it, I think these cadenzas would really kind of help fill out that violin.
Right, I could see that balancing it out.
And what about maybe fiddle music? Do you think these would be good for bluegrass, that sort of thing?
Perhaps. But really, I mean, I don't think you're gonna go wrong with the regular perpetuals either, because these are still soft enough under your hand that you can get some really fast passages out, no problem.
So we did a little bit of additional testing outside of the shop there, and we actually had a little bit more to say about the cadenzas versus the perpetual vanilla strings. In particular, I thought it was very interesting. You were saying that the cadenzas would actually be really good for like period piece players.
Right, exactly. So as I was testing these, their very expressive, kind of fluty sound actually reminded me of viola da gamba, and so I thought this would be a great set of strings for someone playing early music, such as Renaissance music or Baroque music. If you were playing a standard violin but wanted to play early music, these would really suit that.
Nice. And you were saying, they were very expressive, and I wanted to add on to that. These perpetual vanilla strings, great, tremendous amount of volume, tremendous amount of color and all that. But I honestly think we had more dynamic range with the cadenza. The cadenzas got quieter. They didn't quite get as loud as the vanillas, but I think that dynamic range is a lot greater than what the vanillas offered. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for sure, I'd agree. I was noticing that I couldn't get the same level of forte with the cadenzas, but I could definitely push that extreme on the vanillas. However, the trade-off is that I didn't have the same range on the vanillas.
Yeah, you had more power here, but you couldn't quite get as quiet as you could with the cadenzas. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you here next time on The Workshop.